we got two quarterbacks still in San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance. They rotated last night on the opening drives with the starting offense. They both scored on a rushing touchdown. Jimmy G was 4 for 7, 64 yards with that rushing touchdown. Trey Lance, 6 for 13, 46 yards. He ran the ball 6 times, total of 8 yards and a rushing touchdown. But designed runs, that's good. We hadn't seen that. He had run the ball one time on a scramble. And look, I still... And the 49ers fans out there, I don't know if they know how to feel about Jimmy G at this point. Yeah. I saw a lot of praise for his touchdown run. Right. What the hell are you doing? The touchdown run into like 2 Raiders, head down. Come on, man. I mean, haven't we seen enough from Jimmy Garoppolo to know he doesn't know how to keep himself out of harm's way? You can't go diving head first into the end zone in a preseason game into 2 guys. Every time you do it, you're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice. And there's a chance that it's going to be the last roll. It's going to be craps. You're going to be done for the year. You don't do that, Chris. No, you can't do that.
It's risky. I mean, there's no doubt. You're right. He's in a vulnerable position there, too, where it's like, wait, there's no way you're getting out of harm's way. They're going to be able to get a shot in your head or your shoulder or all that. But, again, it's easier said than done. I could say that much. I mean, that's the aspect of when you're going to be platooning a quarterback in and out. One's going to want to make his mark. And, of course, Trey Lance gets all the credit for being the athletic quarterback as is, and Jimmy Garoppolo's going, wait, I can make some plays with my legs and do those type of things too. And also knowing you're around the goal line, and I'll even say this to add to it. It's a great way to get the team on your side. That's the other thing I'll say. It's risky, and, you're right, you got to be really damn careful there. That's the kind of thing, you're viewed as a quarterback in the locker room, but when you do stuff like that, you're a football player. And the guys rally behind that. And that's where Jimmy G does have a little special magic, and we know the team really likes him around him that way. But, hey, I hear you. I mean, that's scary in preseason game number 3, but glad he's okay.
It will help solve the problem that Kyle Shanahan currently has with 2 quarterbacks if he keeps playing like that. On Lance's touchdown, he's untouched, and that's the key, understanding where you are in relation to everyone else and avoiding getting hit. But back to the 2-quarterback reality. It's not really a dilemma if you embrace it. He's making it a dilemma. He's trying to will, in my view, Trey Lance into playing and convincing the players that this should be the guy. For as much as Jimmy G's dive into the end zone may have won hearts and minds of the locker room, the more you play Lance, in theory, the more the players are going to say, okay, this is our guy. And Shanahan, I assume, just has faith that if you put both guys out there, eventually everyone's going to come to the conclusion that there shouldn't be 2 guys out there, that it should be Trey Lance.
Yeah, I'm with you in the fact that I do think Shanahan's trying to will Trey Lance to be the starting quarterback. Hey, I thought that last week. I said that. I thought that's why Shanahan was a little grumpy after the Chargers preseason game. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo threw an interception. It was out. You're out of the game. Trey Lance came in. Let's start throwing the ball, and it didn't go well. But I think ultimately what Shanahan must have came to the realization here in the last 10 days, week, or whatever, is that Trey Lance is not in the trust tree yet. Not throwing the ball in the pocket, not in the obvious passing downs when you know he has to throw it. He does some things where you go, wow, but he does some things where you go, whoa. So there's a little wow and whoa. But let's hit on some of the things we saw yesterday just in the game between the 2 quarterbacks, because that was, I don't know, shocking. I mean, I guess we expected it. I didn't know if we were going to see that in preseason game number 3. And I think it's just a sign of the future. I mean, I think you feel the same way, right, Mike, that this is going to be what the new 49ers offense will look like early in the year. So we got Jimmy G, came in for a few plays. Here's your first look at it. Your Lamar Jackson backside pulling guard to where Trey Lance could keep it. Here, backside guard and pulling tackle again where he could keep it at the right look, but he gives it to Mostert. Similar type of play here. We've seen all these plays from the Baltimore Ravens over the years with the running quarterbacks and all that. But he's got a little bit of the best of both worlds right now as far as that's concerned. Okay, I can trust Jimmy G to throw the ball within the pocket, and then my run game itself is a pain in the butt, and now you add Trey Lance into the equation. Whoa, it's a really big pain in the butt, and I think this is the kind of thing we're going to see from this 49ers offense, at least early in the year, for sure.
Question.
Yeah.
Because one of the big benefits of an approach like this is obvious. It puts extra stress on the defense during the week in advance of playing the 49ers because you have to devote time, resources, effort, strategy to figuring out a game plan for the Jimmy G offense.
Right.
And you have to do the same thing for the Trey Lance offense. But, we rarely think of it from the other perspective. How do you perfect two different offenses with the amount of practice time you have available as the 49ers, Chris? That's the other concern I would have here. If you see the Baltimore Ravens playbook for Trey Lance and the 49ers' usual playbook for Jimmy Garoppolo, you got to be able to trust the rest of the offense to be able to flip it back and forth in an instant and not miss a beat. How do you get to that point week in and week out?
Yeah, well, he's a genius in the run game. We know that. And I think he'll take baby steps with all the new Trey Lance stuff. It'll be just a little infusion of here's 3 or 4 plays this week, guys. And then here's 3 or 4 weeks 3 or 4 plays the next week. And all of a sudden you get to week 7 or 8 and you go, hey, look at this. We got about 25, 30 different runs with Trey Lance and things we can do off of it to where I don't know if it'll necessarily break things up. That as far as just the continuity, practice, all those type of things. I think it can be done as long as you're not trying to go, wait, I'm going to show the world I got 90 million plays with Trey Lance and do all that stuff, and then oh, yeah, let me get back to that other offense. I think it's going to be still the Shanahan offense we're accustomed to seeing with a few wrinkles of this Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson-ish type offense on a week-to-week basis. And, he's got a creative way of coaching, and he can keep it simple and still make it look complex, which is why he's the man and one of the better offensive minds in the sport.
Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan after the game on this issue of using both quarterbacks and which of the two will be the first quarterback to play week 1 at Detroit. Here he is.
Yeah, it is an option. So whether it's in their mind or not, that's up to them. But we got 2 guys who can play, and we've been doing it in practice a little bit. Wanted to do it out there in the game, and I think it's always going to be an option.
Kyle, what did you think about how each quarterback played?
I thought they did a good job. By no means was it perfect, but I thought just the function of it and going in and out and not knowing when it's going to be, it wasn't a planned rotation or anything. I was trying to make it situational, so I was just doing it mainly off impulse and, whenever the down and distance, it felt like what we wanted to call. So those guys seemed like they handled it good. I'll meet with them tomorrow and watch all with them, which I'm looking forward to. But today I thought it was good.
Is Jimmy going to start first week?
I guess we'll have to see. I don't like playing this game, but everyone keeps asking me that question. I'm not just giving the answer just to satisfy the question. I think we got a pretty good idea, like I said, all along. I think our team does, and we're pretty good with it as long as I can keep surviving press conferences.
How's that going for you?
I'm all right with it. It's just trying to be respectful.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier he was irritated last week. I think his default has become irritation.
I know, right? Right.
Yeah, and you've got to understand that this is part of the job, and you are going to be asked these questions. They've created this multi-layered mystery by everything they've done in the offseason. You can't act surprised that people are going to ask you questions about where this is all heading when you've been moving all these pieces around and doing all these crazy things, and you still have the quarterback that everyone assumed would be out the door when you make the big move from 12 to 3 to get your next quarterback, Chris. So, look, it doesn't matter who starts. If you're going to play both guys, it doesn't matter.
No, you're right. It doesn't really matter. I would be shocked if we saw Trey Lance start the football game. Maybe if they're going to come out right away and give design runs and things like that. But, Trey Lance didn't start any of the preseason games. So all of a sudden you're going to just throw him, on the field on the road in Detroit and go, hey, start. So that would be, one thought right off the bat where I'd go, okay, yeah, you're right. It doesn't really matter. We'll see him at some point in the first drive of the game either way. But this is why I don't think he can totally trust Trey Lance or go with him right now. Hey, that was a great throw. But we saw a number of the throws just like the one before that where it's off target. He's still unpolished as far as being a pocket passer and making the appropriate throw. Again, here, you see the mustard on the ball. It's a rifle, But here's, come on. That's wide open. So that's why he's not the starting quarterback right now. Those things that he's got to fix, certainly. And Shanahan hey, I do think in his heart of hearts, of course, with the trade, everything like that, he wants Trey Lance to take over. But there's some things that are just still too raw and untrustworthy about his game. So now he's going to play it this way and be a pain in the butt for defensive coordinators and other teams where you do have to worry about. But let me ask you this. Let me just one question before you. Do you think, I think like, oh gosh, you got to prepare for both offenses is a little bit of an overblown topic at this point. I mean, and hear me out just a little here. I mean, again, I know there's value to it, but like, it's not like when Lamar Jackson and them can throw the ball. They have drop back pass concepts. So you have him running the ball. You got Buffalo and Josh Allen every week who they have some quarterback design runs and they drop back and pass. Like, oh no, how do you prepare for both? Okay. Then you got the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. They can do both. Oh no, how do you prepare for both? All right. You got the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. You had the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky did it. We see Russell Wilson and the Seahawks do it. Yeah, it's getting less and less. Dak Prescott, they did it. I mean, Deshaun Watson, the Saints, of course, and them doing it. Cam Newton and the Patriots. So, like, again, I know there's some schematical advantage, but I don't think defenses are going to be like, oh, my gosh, my head's blown up. It's the quarterback design run, and then the next play, it's the drop back pass. Oh, my gosh. So, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Well, I think it could be cool, but I think it could be risky, too.
One thing we've seen with Allen, he doesn't run as much as he used to on a design basis. Right. They're keeping him healthy. But the idea that you're bringing in a completely different human being, it's one thing to have a quarterback who can do multiple things. Yeah. It's another thing where there's a completely different quarterback who's got a different set of tendencies and tells and looks and checks. And what do we try to do with him versus what do we try to do with the other one?
It's a good point,
and one key aspect here, I got a question for you. Yeah. And every once in a while, I'll get an idea that I want to pull the thread. And I know there's a fine line between being insightful and having like some sort of a Colin Cowherd cookie cutter hot take that makes no sense whatsoever. All due respect, too late for that. But I keep hearing Shanahan, who I've always viewed as a master of strategy and deliberation and thought and care. Now, he's like he's acting on impulse. Like, is he having some kind of a weird midlife crisis where his football approach is just being ripped up and torn apart, and he's going to just do a completely different thing? Whatever his impulse is what's going to drive him. He's waiting for an impulse. Maybe it'll be his impulse in 13 days to start Trey Lance. That's my impulse. It's just, for a guy who has always struck me as being so meticulous and detailed and specific.
Yeah.
Just waiting for whatever impulse happens to fly his way. It seems odd to me. It seems like a major change in how this guy is coaching.
I hear what you're saying. I'm with you. I mean, he's not impulsive. I will say that. Like,
he's trying, but he is. But he's telling us he's impulsive.
I feel like he's backed himself into a corner a little bit in this subject a little bit. Yeah, and I think like what we've been saying all along in his heart of hearts, I think he thought, man, I'm going to be able to get Trey Lance in here and hit the ground running, and I'm not going to have to deal with this. He's going to show everybody that he's the guy, and we're going to go with it. And, of course, he sent out 80,000 signals in the offseason. He was trying to replace Jimmy G with just about anybody in football. So, I mean, again, I have no inside knowledge of this. I really don't. I haven't talked to Kyle in a while, and he's certainly not going to talk to me right now about this subject or anything like that. But I do feel like, yeah, to me, reading my friend or just a coach, and I know you and I read people all together, it seems like he's feeling the pressure on the subject a little bit. Yeah, like you said, he made this bed. He made this problem or issue. I don't want to say a problem. It's not a problem. But, yeah, I think he is feeling the pressure of the moment a little bit. And, of course, everybody watching Trey Lance with extra pressure because you traded away three first-round picks. And, wait, was it Mac Jones? And all those type of things have just added more pressure into this whole thing. And then Mac Jones looks really good, too. That doesn't help either.
And we're going to pivot to Mac Jones in a second. Yeah. But let me just put this last nail in the point. It wasn't just Kyle Shanahan. There are others in the organization who were part of this brain trust that came up with all the different ideas they've explored in the offseason for upgrading from Jimmy Garoppolo. But Kyle is the guy who primarily is front and center dealing with the questions, deflecting the questions, trying to keep the plans under wraps while he figures out simultaneously what in the hell the plan is going to be, because the guy that they gave up all that stuff to get has yet to reveal himself the way that they had hoped. So Kyle's in the center of a storm here.
Right.
And it isn't entirely of his own making. It was group think and group action, but it's Kyle who's standing up there taking the heat, so to speak, being the one who's got to answer the questions for a plan that they really don't have. And maybe that's what's irritating him. This is a guy who's used to having a plan.
Yeah, right.
And right now the plan is there is no plan, and that's got to be driving him nuts, Chris.
That really could be the root of the issue right there altogether. You're right. I mean, he is, like you said, he's meticulous. He's well thought out. You know, I mean, there's no doubt about it. But, yeah, he's in a little bit of a tough spot here. But I'll say this, too, to button it up, too, to end it all here. If anybody can pull it off, you know, we've talked about New England and Belichick and what he could pull off. Like, yes, of course, we think he can pull off just about anything. Shanahan, if there's one guy in football that could truly pull off this little platooning quarterback type of thing, and this is, to me, it's different than Drew Brees. I'm an established legend at the end of my career, and we just have this cool toy that's going to help us out. This is a different scenario, but he's got great people skills. We know that. We never hear really any player say anything negative about Kyle. Everybody's like, man, Kyle, I mean, he cuts players, and they're like, this was awesome being here. Kyle's a genius. Thank you for cutting me, and thank you for the opportunity. He has a good way about him where he'll be able to sell it not only through his own belief, but he's going to sell it to the team like Gruden used to at times. He's going to show you plays and things and start to make sense of, like, here, this is why I'm putting Trey Lance in. Look what it's going to do to the defense. He'll sell it to the rest of his offense, and they're going to go, damn, that's smart. Okay, we're behind you. And like I said, if there's anybody that can do it, it's that guy.
Well, week 1, week 2, at Detroit, at Philly, he should be able to pull it off with either quarterback. He could get you out of retirement and pull. He could get me out of retirement. I never had anything to retire from and pull it off. Week 3 is when it gets interesting.
But you have annoying
Sunday Night
articles. He might want you to retire from that.
That's true. Green Bay Packers at San Francisco 49ers. I'm trying to give the promo for the NBC game, week 3, when it's real, when that will be the test of this approach.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.